Were you ever in a fight on a rugby field?
No.
Did you ever lose your temper?
I think, yeah, I mean, there'll be times when I was really cheesed off or peeved off with someone. I mean, there was a lot of foul play and off the ball play in the days, as you will remember, when yeah, I mean, you're fighting for your country. You don't want to take a back seat, backward step, and it's, you don't give an inch. So I used to just sort of channel that in a different way and wait for the opportunity to smash them hard in the tackle.
Yeah.
You always can rub their head in the ground as you get up and remind them, hey, don't mess with me, and this is you're not going to run all over me, because and often, obviously, when someone took a cheap shot, you always felt that, hey, you always had the better of them psychologically, because why would they do that?
You never punched anyone?
No.
You got your teammates to do it for you, mate?
Yeah, well, Peter Fetz is a prime example. I mean, I'll never forget the late dear Peter Fetz. We were playing Otago that time on Eden Park, and I was a new kid on the block. And I think it was Gordy McPherson sort of did a wallop me from behind, and I turned around and I was waiting. I don't know what I was going to do, but I turned around and he was lying on the ground, obviously, and I was like, oh, gee, what happened there? And next to it, Peter Fetz is getting told by the ref, hey, Peter, why did you do that? And he said, well, Michael Jones is a Christian, he's not going to do it, so I did it for him. It's a great story.
Yeah. Your comebacks continued, and I guess after missing 95, because this time there were too many Sunday games for the coaching staff, but you were back in 96 for that incredible series, I think, win against South Africa. Was that one of your favourite?
Yeah, absolutely.
Battles in rugby, if you like?
Absolutely. I mean, the World Cup in '87 will always be a special highlight for me. I mean, it was because of those circumstances, and to be part of a World Cup winning team. I mean, that's the pinnacle, right? But what we achieved in terms of '96 and having, going there as an All Black team to win it, to achieve something that we'd never achieved in our illustrious past as All Blacks, and that was to beat the South Africans on their home turf in the Test series. So, and just the rugby was so intense, the whole experience. I mean, again, the privilege of playing with, greats like Fitzy and Zinni and, Mertz and Goldie was at his prime, and Ozzy and Jonah, and it was just a wonderful experience. And I'll never forget that last test at Loftus when we really went to the wall. I don't think I've ever seen an All Black team, so physically spent at the end of 85 minutes than how we were, and we just collapsed in a heap at that final whistle. But the joy of knowing that we had achieved something that had never been done before by an All Black team.
Even half an hour later, when we had the privilege of being allowed into your dressing room, I still think most of you were still too spent almost to talk much at that stage. It had been a huge physical exam. Yeah,
it was probably the greatest physical, mental battle that I've ever been in on a rugby field that day. Because if there was any team that could come back and and catch up with us, to beat us, even though we had quite a healthy lead by the time Zinni had kicked that 40-metre drop kick.
Outrageous.
No one else could ever do that.
You ever done one of those?
No.
Tried one?
Well, I mean, I used to like kicking when before the knees were, but I wouldn't have enough guts like Zinni to do that. I mean, what forward in the world would ever do that? Is only Zinzan
Yeah, I can't think of another one. After you finished playing, you ended up coaching Samoa.
Yeah.
And did you enjoy that? And do you feel that we should talk probably about Samoa being who I thought were going to be included in Super Rugby from an early stage? They've never made it. It seems a great shame to me.
Yeah, I had the privilege of coming on board with John Bowe sort of early 2001, 2. Then we went to the World Cup in 2003, and I mean, that was a very special experience to be part of. I mean, having this sort of mixed dual heritage of being a Kiwi, and so I've been able to serve New Zealand rugby for so long, and then to then be given the chance to serve Samoan rugby in a coaching capacity was fantastic. So, and to be part of that very special 2003 team, I nearly beat England in Melbourne, and it was a wonderful occasion. But I think what we purposely did, and was very important to use that as a platform to highlight some of the real unfairness in the world rugby system, and at the time in particular where the Pacific Island rugby was really getting left behind, but there was really a need for particularly the IRB to step up and really invest more, and whether that, we really pushed the need to be involved in whether it was a Super 14 at the time, something. And here we are 10 years later and 11 years later. And it's...
I know I've had Brian Williams in here, and he still, having been involved in New Zealand rugby and Samoa, and he feels the same, that it's a great shame that the All Blacks have never played a test up in Apia.
Yeah, and I think that even in terms of the symbolism of that and the powerful message that would send to the Pacific, and anywhere you go, when people in the Pacific love and adore the All Blacks, and what they would do to have them playing in Tonga or Samoa would be priceless, really. But just the sense of goodwill that they would bring too. So we're really hoping that might still happen. We were sort of hoping that BG might be able to pull it off when he was sitting there in the New Zealand
as the president.
Yeah, as the president.
Nah, cross by his name for that.
Yeah, no, it's not. There's always going to be a lot of the financial rationale why it can't happen, but I think it's one of those things. There has to be a point very soon where it just becomes it's a non-negotiable. It just has to happen.
You have a lot of connections still with Samoa. Tell me about your work that you're doing these days. That gets you up there.
Yeah, well, my sort of day job with Metson is a shipping company, and I've been working in shipping for the last sort of 6-7 years, and it's all about we have ships that go into the Pacific, so I'm able to travel into the region, Solomons, Vanuatu, Samoa, Cook Islands, Tonga, and I love the Pacific, and I've always been passionate about economic development and social development in the region, so that gives me that wonderful outlet and keeps the connection up there. My real passion is still very much my community here and our youth here in Auckland, and so our village trust, which my wife runs, and I'm still very much involved in as the chairman. That if I could spend more time on that, I would. But it's been wonderful. We've been able to put hundreds of students through a sports education program and the Village Sports Academy out west, and then also we do mentoring in schools with young Pacific Islanders to assist them to move into positive outcomes and journey through life, finishing school and getting some qualifications or a good job. So all of those things.
Does that occupy a lot of your after-hours work? Like
it does,
weekends that sort of
it's all voluntary, but I truly believe that it takes a village to raise a child. And hence why we call it our programs The Village, because I'm the product of a village out in West Auckland. I didn't have a dad. We were pretty poor, big families, but the village around me raised me and made me what I am today. So it's just my way of giving back to my community out there and our youth. We've got such potential out there, and sports is a great hook, and rugby's been good for me, and it's allowed me to do great things. So,
do you see that leading any further into something like politics? Your name has been mentioned from time to time.
It's interesting. There was a time there where it was on the table, but I've really felt to concentrate on grassroots. I think you can make just as much and more effective change from the bottom up instead of the top down, and so that's where I've been focusing my attention, and I don't see that changing because I think I can move in my communities quite freely. They know my agenda is very much about empowering young people and equipping them and being part of solution-driven programs that can see them, fulfill their potential in life. So I'm quite happy sort of moving in that space. And it's, rugby has been, playing for the All Blacks and playing for your country has given me such a wonderful platform and an ability to continue to influence young people in particular. So for that, I'm so grateful for, and if anything, that's been one of the biggest gifts that rugby's given me.